What is up, everybody? This is Archon,
And I'm Rook.
and this is another episode of Raw and Nerdy, episode number 85?
Yeah, 85.
85, yes. Oh my gosh, we're at 85 already. Dude, we're going to have to do
right?
something really cool for episode 100.
Oh, we will. We got to really think about it because we
Maybe there'll
only
be a
have
con.
50 more weeks.
I know, maybe there'll be a con or something, or something that we could, like, something big we could do around that time, or...
Yeah. That would be epic. Do episode 100 as a con.
That would be pretty sweet if it worked out. But this week, we are going to pick Mr. Rook's brain. Our main topic for today is going to be about something that is very near and dear to him and something I know very little about, and that's avionics. So we are going to be asking him questions and learning, all the ins and outs of avionics.
Oh, avionics is a big subject. I'll answer what I can.
Yeah, well, I won't say all the ins and outs. We're going to briefly touch on it because we only have an hour here, so... But first,
I won't blow smoke. So if I say I don't know, it's because I don't know.
But as always, let's get into our weeks first. What'd you do this week, Rook?
Oh, this last week was by the time y'all hear this, it'll be a week later. But the previous week was really brutal. We were doing some testing on some stuff, and I made a critical mistake that I shouldn't have made. I will preface this with, this is a common thing that's done on all aircraft, so it's not specific. But I supervised the jacking evolution of an aircraft, and I did not make sure all my parameters were met before we started jacking, and I made one crucial mistake, and somebody could have gotten hurt. Or the plane could have gotten really damaged. But luckily, I got lucky. Let's just put it that way. Nobody got hurt. But always verify your parameters when you're doing a job. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, especially when you're dealing with so many, like... micro things. Like, there's so many small little details that go into that thing. Like, you got to make sure everything is just right.
Yeah, especially when certain aspects of an aircraft have weight limits. So, yeah. Got my new system up and running. As y'all can see, my camera's where it's normally supposed to be. Those of you listening, my camera is up high instead of down low. So, the previous week before last week, my computer decided to die. So last week, I ended up ordering a new motherboard, a new graphics card, a new CPU, and DDR5 memory, and built my computer. And assembled it in 2 hours to fully assemble it, make sure everything was good to go. Took another 4 hours to get the system to work because I couldn't figure out why it didn't want to boot. Reflash BIOS multiple times. Checked everything. Everything was connected and powering up. I was like, okay, my BIOS could see the hard drive, but it wouldn't boot from the hard drive. So I could go into the hard drive through BIOS and look for any QFlash files for my BIOS. Found out there's a setting called compatibility management system that I forgot, that I didn't realize I need to turn on to utilize my old hard drives. Turned that on, worked like a champ since.
Oh, yeah, dude. I don't think that was... like, I could be wrong. Completely could be wrong. But I don't remember that in, like, older builds having that mode. I think it's a fairly newer thing that they've added.
It's a newer thing for backwards compatible motherboards.
Okay.
So my computer for the M.2, they're they're Gen 5.
Mm-hmm.
My solid state hard drives are from back in 2020. So they're like Gen 3, Gen 4.
Gotcha.
So the newer motherboards that are coming out have revert backwards compatibility, but the BIOS has to have that set turned on. So it'll actually
enable it so that it'll actually read them.
Yeah. So I made that. It took me forever to figure that out, but once I got it on, it's running great. So for those of you who are curious, I'm running a new motherboard, the uh, Gigabyte or RS, I think is how you say it. RSX 870 uh, Elite Wi-Fi 7 has built-in Wi-Fi. That is epic.
Ooh.
I know. It was the first motherboard I ever bought that has built-in Wi-Fi. It has the Ryzen 9 9950X uh, CPU.
Uh-huh.
My GPU is the 5060 Ti I bought last week. And then I'm running the Corsair Vengeance. I'm running 32 gigs of Corsair Vengeance DDR5 RAM.
Sounds solid. You
And
should
it's
be
water
a,
cooled. It's liquid cooled now. So,
you should be able to run pretty much any game out there now.
oh, it can. The only issue I'm running into right now is with Dune is the communication between the servers to get the packets for the. It takes it a minute to upload or download the new the textures when I go into an area. So I gotta give it a second to load up. I think that's a symptom of my internet. I think because
Have you
every
gone
other
in
game runs fine.
Have you gone in since you put the new graphics card in and reset all your graphics settings and turned on like your DLSS and all that kind of stuff?
Mm-mm.
You might
I
want to
might need to
do
do that.
that. That might be your problem is it's still reading your old settings that you had instead of upgrading them to the new graphics card.
Yeah, probably. I'll
It
have to
doesn't
check
do it
that
by
out.
default. You have to go in and do it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go do that tomorrow because right after we're done recording today, I got to go to work. Uh,
Mhm.
Also, played a lot of Dune this weekend with Archon.
Yeah.
Um,
We
that
had
game
some
is just a
well,
blast.
yesterday we played some together. Saturday I played absolutely no Dune. So,
Yeah, Sunday we played together. But no, I'm
yes.
having a blast in that game. It's a survival game, but it's also a MMO, but it's not like Rust where everybody can kill you right off the bat. And I'm loving that.
Yeah,
But
there's designated PvP areas, which, from
mhm.
the sounds of it, there's going to be it's going to be even more designated PvP areas soon. They're going to cut the size of the massive PvP area down a little bit to add more PvE, which is nice.
Oh yeah. So I was watching a reel on Instagram. The guy was using a spice crawler or sand crawler,
Sandcrawler.
spice.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
Sandcrawler.
sand crawler, and they're talking about the worm and all that because you can see the worm coming around where they're getting all the spice,
Hmm.
and then the worm comes up. The worm comes up, and they're right here. So the worm comes up, and they got the carrier doctor. They try picking it up, but the worm hits them before it can be
Oh,
picked up out of the way.
no. They waited too long. That's no good. Because those things
Mhm.
are expensive to make, too. The
Yes, they
Sandcrawlers.
are. I just unlocked them on on my side
Yeah. And guess
because you
what?
know what?
Technically, we can make them now,
Nice.
even though we still got a lot of work to do, and it would take forever because our spice management's not that great. But I did make the medium ore refinery last night, so we can make the plastonium ingots now.
Nice. Uh, we need to make a run out to the deep desert to see how well we fare.
Dude, I flew around the deep desert yesterday for probably 3 hours and never once found a single spice area. There was no spice anywhere. I could not find it anywhere. I've been finding more in Haga Basin than I have out there.
That's weird.
It's like supposedly there's supposed to be huge areas of it. Haven't seen it yet. Maybe
Hmm.
I just haven't flown out far enough, but I've flown way out into the desert. So I don't know how far out it is, but nada.
Hmm.
It's
We'll have
supposed
to
to be
check it out.
huge.
Did you see a lot of people?
Not really. I saw a few people, and for the most part, no, like nobody tried to attack me. My buddy Chris has gone out there a few times and gotten hunted by people, and like had to like hide in the mountains and stuff. But like he doesn't go out there for the spice. He was going out there doing some quests or something where you have to like scan certain regions of the desert or
Mm.
something. But Yeah.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of the questing. I still have a couple more I can do.
Oh, I
Luckily, I
got a
did
ton more
save up
still.
enough money to pay the taxes on the base.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's kind of useful.
and then right after I got done with playing Dune Sunday night, I was talking with Mossy, and Mossy was showing me his ship builds and whatnot. And he was running around his ship, and one of his habs wasn't, it didn't mesh right.
For Starfield?
Yeah, for
Oh, okay.
Starfield. One of his modules wasn't meshing for some reason. When he put the door there, one of the areas, decoration areas, didn't clear for the doorway.
Mhm.
So we tried pulling it off, putting it back on to see if it'd work, and he was showing me that, and I was like, "Why don't we just pull it off? Pull your hab from the other side to there, and see if that opens clearly." And it did. And then I was like, "All right, now add your hab to the other side, the engineering bay that's having the issue. Add it to the other side, see if it works." And he swapped them around, and lo and behold, that side of the hab didn't have any of the pipings and stuff, so it actually cleared and made a clear entrance into the thing. But he made a really cool looking ship. I'll
Nice.
have to
Yeah,
see
I
if I can get a screenshot
he
of it.
came in at, like, just after midnight my time, so I was, like, dying. Like, I talked to him for a little while, but, like, I had to go to bed. I couldn't stay up any longer because I've been working last week I worked brutal hours.
Oh yeah,
Brutal hours.
that dude. I don't know how you're going to be able to survive doing that much longer. Well, how's
It
your week?
yeah, it was rough. Like, for those that don't know, I work, like, in asphalt. I do seal coating and crack sealing and things like that, so I'm working on hot pavement. It's been, like, 95 degrees with a 105-degree heat index, and we worked 71 hours last week in it.
Ouch.
Like, 18-hour days some days, 17-hour day one day, 15-hour day another day. Like, I would wake up, go to work, get home, go to bed, wake up the next day, go back to work. That was my life last week, and it was brutal.
I've been there before.
This week we got some rain in the forecast, so it's not quite as brutal, but I mean, we're probably still going to get at least our 40 in, I wouldn't doubt, but
I wonder if that's why it's so brutal, is because you are having to work different, more hours to make up the days y'all weren't able to work.
no, well, yes and no, but it's just like our boss, like, over promises. He, like, tells 8 different companies, "Yeah, we'll have this done this weekend," and then we have 8 different jobs we gotta try and fit into one weekend, and it's like, there's only 4 of us, so it's 4 guys doing all the work, and we, like, we'll get done, like, we'll be doing our job, and we'll get done with our job for the day, and it'll be, like, 4 or 5 o'clock, and he'll be like, "Oh, we got time to add another couple." Or hear me out, or we could just go home for today and come back and do those tomorrow. Like, come on, dude. Like, you're killing
Yeah,
me.
that's part of my language. But that's piss poor management.
It's rough, and like, it's very disorganized. We definitely need to, like, get the organization under check, because that's the biggest problem I have there is the disorganization. Like, they apparently, some of them work today, but since I didn't work yesterday, nobody bothered to message me to let me know what time we were working today.
Mm.
So I didn't end up working today because nobody told me when to come in. It's just little things like that. But I mean, I'm happy I didn't go in today because, again, it's another brutal, miserable day. It's finally gonna cool down back into, like, the high 70s, low 80s tomorrow. So I have a feeling we'll be working because it's only supposed to rain in the morning and then, like, later in the evening. So we'll probably work during the like, morning and afternoon.
Yeah.
But hopefully the rain stops us from being able to work a 17-hour day.
Yeah.
But
Those are brutal.
when I wasn't working, yeah, I did play a little bit of Dune, hung out with my boys. But yesterday I built a secondary outpost for us because one of the biggest materials you need is aluminum. So I built an outpost right over by the aluminum that we could bring our buggy to and just, like, go around, because getting ore with the buggy is 100 times easier and way more fun because you go out with 2 people, one person sitting in the turret just like zapping the ore as you're driving by, and the other person's just kind of driving around. Rook and I did that for a little while one day. We on Sunday, yeah, we went around farming crystals. That was fun. But you get it way faster, and it's more fun because you're playing with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So I built this base. I did it all in the Atreides build style.
Mm-hmm.
Looks pretty sweet. I like it. It came out good, but it's just I mean it's not near the size of our main base because Rook for some reason thinks our main base needs to be like a whole map big. Like he
It needs to be bigger.
just keeps expanding it and
Well,
expanding it and expanding it
let's be
and
honest. The reason why I'm expanding this time was one, to block somebody from trying to build right in front of our garage door.
yeah,
And then the second time I expanded was to give us a bigger area to build the hangar,
yeah, to for our hangar, but yeah, we
which
have
I
a
need to build
neighbor.
bigger.
We have a neighbor that so he moved in a couple like last week. He moved in and he built like almost right on top of our base. And I saw him building,
Mm-hmm.
and I mentioned something to him. I was like, "Hey man, like, is there a way you can move down a little bit? Like, there's a lot of space here. Like, you're kind of blocking us from being able to expand." He messaged me back and said, "Cry about it." I was like, "Oh boy, this is going to be fun." And then the conversation just continued to escalate and get worse and worse and worse. And he just was being more of a tool, more of a tool. And then I log in the next day and he built a giant wall facing our base with like the pieces looking like a giant smiley face aiming
Mm-hmm.
right at our base. I'm like, what a tool. And then I log in the next day, and even though it's a PvP area and you can't do any damage whatsoever to our base, I log in and I'm running around doing different things in my base, and he sees me, so he gets in his ornithopter and flies over top of our base and just starts shooting rockets at our base just to be annoying. I'm just
Which
like,
every time he's done that with me running around, I just ignore him.
I do
And then
too. I just at one point I went out and I like scoped him down with my rifle and just started shooting at him, but like that was just to be funny, but like it's just like really, dude, really.
it's not slowing down my computer. It's not affecting how I'm playing. It's not damaging anything. So, and by the way, I'm going to sidetrack real quick. I do like how in game they explain how players cannot destroy other players' bases in the
Yeah,
basin,
yeah, that's cool.
a built-in
You
shield in
can't
the.
you can't destroy people's bases in the deep desert either.
Yeah, they the in-game reason is the subthieves, whatever they're called.
Sub thief, yeah.
Yeah, they actually create a shield around your base.
Yeah, as long as it's powered. I wonder what happens if you run out of power. Like if you overload the power and the shield goes down. I wonder if they could blow up your base then in the deep desert.
I mean, the worm can just eat your base.
But not in the, no, because there's you build your bases on little rock formations. You don't build them out in the desert.
No, I'm just saying we know for a fact the worm can eat your
Oh
base.
yeah, we've seen that happen. He's eaten our base before, but
So what I think happened is the guy that made that big smiley face, I think he put a sub thief on the other side of our base trying to block it in
uh-huh.
and didn't realize that we're only a few meters in game from where the worm tracker is and where it'll come up and eat the base. So when he built there, the worm destroyed it.
Yeah. And if the sub thief gets destroyed, your whole base is gone. So
Yeah, if the sub thief gets destroyed, anybody can go over there and start destroying all of the stuff.
mhm.
So I do think if the sub thief does not have power, that people can destroy your base at that point.
Interesting. We'll have to make sure, well, especially because today is when the Corliss storm happens. I think it's about to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about building like a little small base out in the deep desert for like, farming purposes out in the deep desert, just getting used to being out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to do it after the storm because every 7 days the storm comes through every Tuesday and erases everything that's out there.
Yeah, that's her way of keeping everything in check. Because they limit how many people can be on the servers because they actually want to make it where uh, people can build big bases in the PVE areas, and then out in the desert because you don't want to bog down that area with texture loading, they wipe it every
Oh,
7
dude,
days.
wait till you go to the deep desert and understand. Like, wait till you go out there. It is huge,
Yeah, I can
like
imagine.
massive. It is so big,
All
and
right,
there's
so
like
this is not Dune Awakening Raw. So let's
no.
focus on back on our topic.
That's I'm talking about my week. That's what I did. That's the only thing I got to do besides work, except for yesterday. I went swimming with my kids, and I had the
That's
weirdest
awesome.
thing happen to me. Right, because we have a pool and it's been super hot. I took the day off because one of our air conditioners went out, the one right in our living room, and I had to get it
Mhm.
fixed. But with the rest of my day, I'm like, you know what? It's super hot. I'm tired from fixing this air conditioner. I'm going swimming. So I go out there and I get in the pool and I go swimming and I'm like, all right, I got to get the filter going, got to get everything ready. Got out of the pool, got all that, set my towel, my shirt, and my glasses right on the little play structure that's next to the pool. Got in the pool. Get out of the pool. I was the first one out of the pool. The kids were still in the pool. Nobody had gotten out. Got out of the pool. Went over. Went to go grab my stuff, and my glasses weren't there.
That's
Couldn't
weird.
find them. Couldn't find them anywhere. Look, I have a spare set that I keep in my truck, which is what I'm wearing now, but no clue where they went. We looked everywhere around the play structure. We looked literally all me and both of my kids, and then my wife came out, and like we all looked in the whole yard. Can't find them. No clue where my glasses went.
I
Just
would
totally
ask
disappeared.
you I would ask you if you took your glasses out with you to the play area, but I know how blind you are without them.
No, I set them on the play structure, literally right next to the pool when I got in the pool.
Did they get knocked into the pool?
It's not close enough. But we looked through the whole pool. We had like a whole like my wife had a couple friends from her mom's group come over
Mhm.
yesterday and bring all their kids. We had like 18 people in our pool yesterday. Everybody like we all nobody saw them. They just
Hmm.
they're gone. They just
A
disappeared.
bird came and took them.
Right? Some bird is somewhere looking at the life way better than he's ever seen it before. Like I don't know, but yeah. So now I'm wearing my backups. Hopefully nothing happens to these because no clue where they went. They'll just randomly appear someday. I'm sure. Like on the play structure. Oh, hey, look, here's
Right
your
where you
glasses.
left them.
What? Like, just got zapped to another dimension. But anyway, yeah, so that's been pretty much my week.
Pretty straightforward week.
Yeah, work, work, work. A little bit of play. Well,
All right. So, what segment do we want to do next? Do we want to do the main topic, or do we knock out the news
let's
articles we
knock out
got
the
real quick?
news so that we have plenty of time for me to ask you all these hard hitting questions. Can't wait.
All right. So, first news article I saw when I was surfing the internet is on Geek Tyrant, and it's an article about the Buffy the Vampire Slayer revival,
Hmm.
and it's Sarah Michelle Gellar wants to bring back everyone who has died in the new Buffy the Vampire Slayer revival. And this was an interview with Vanity Fair Italia.
I mean, I
So
can understand wanting to bring Spike back because he was a big part of the show. But other than that, like, everyone else is dead. There's no reason to bring him back. Let him be dead.
let's
Nobody
see.
else important was dead.
True. She says it will be lighter than the last few seasons of the original. We will try to find a balance between new and old characters. My dream is to bring back everyone who has died, but space will have to be made for new stories as well. So I'm just not sure how they'll bring everybody back that makes sense unless they do flashbacks.
Well, I mean, how many times has Buffy died? And they keep bringing
True.
her back.
Oh yeah, Star Wars. They're using Ryan Kiera Armstrong. She played in Star Wars Skeleton Crew.
Yep.
She's
She's
going to
the
be the
new
new lead. Yeah.
yeah, she's the new Slayer, which again I still don't understand how that's gonna work.
So the way this is how Sarah Michelle Gellar has mentioned it. From the moment I saw Ryan's audition, I knew there was only one girl that I wanted by my side. To have that kind of emotional intelligence and talent at such a young age is truly a gift. The bonus is that her smile lights up even the darkest room.
Yeah, but how can there be another Slayer? There's already there literally only supposed to be there could be only one. Like, there's only supposed to be one Slayer. And then through half the show, there were two because Buffy died
Mm-hmm.
and came back.
That's
But
how you get around loopholes.
I don't know. Maybe she dies again. Or maybe Faith dies. Maybe that's it. Maybe they kill off Faith. Who knows?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty
Oh,
cool.
wait, there was a third one at one point. There was that one African American girl for a little while. And I
Yeah,
think
true.
she died. I don't know. I guess we'll see.
It's supposed to be a lighter show, so I don't know if a lot of people are going to die at the beginning of this series.
Hmm. I don't know. I'm excited for it. I really like Buffy. I'm a big fan. I'm a big
Yeah,
fan of the whole
it's a good
universe.
show. It was a good
I liked
story.
Angel too. I thought they were both really good shows.
I wish they would have played more into Spike, but that was before I actually liked the actor.
Oh, dude, I love that actor.
I
He,
actually started liking him through audiobook narration.
I really liked him in Buffy, and I really liked him in Smallville. He played two awesome characters.
I honestly, with the way he reads Dresden, I
Hmm.
think he would make a good Dresden from the Dresden Files.
Hmm.
All right, so there's one more topic we want to bring about for Dune Awakening Raw. Apparently, uh,
Okay, go for
I
it.
gotta, I gotta bring up that article. I didn't save it on my actual computer. I think I sent it to you in text, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. Uh,
There it
basic.
is. All right. So the article reads Dune Awakening's future plans include a beefy July patch and the start of DLCs. All right. So they have this was an Ask Me Anything on or an AMA Ask Me Anything on Reddit, during which several of the game's leads came out to answer community questions earlier this week. Uh, of greatest interest was the immediate future of Dune Awakening, which they said won't have to wait very long for next patch. They are quoted as saying, "We have an update in testing that contains a lot of quality of life updates, which we are aiming to release early July. It contains too many changes for me to list here, but you'll be seeing it soon. For PvE plans for the future, each of our major updates will always continue new story content and new PvE content, which will release at the same time as our DLCs coming out. Our goal is to have these releases every 3 to 4 months."
Which is great.
Uh,
Knowing that we're going to have major content coming every 3 to 4 months is that's huge for me.
mm-hmm. And all right, I'm gonna make this quick. The team also said that it's working on more dynamic encounters, storage container naming, dueling, more maps, a third faction, new contracts across the board, and they're looking at fixing issues with PvP performance with rubber banding and all that. But they, unlike, and this isn't a dig on any specific company, but unlike some companies we've covered in the past,
Mm-hmm.
they are actually promising continuous communication.
Yeah, they're telling us stuff, which is great.
But they're promising they'll keep telling us stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm big on that.
Mm-hmm.
Big on that. Like when the company just goes dark and then just suddenly says, "Oh, surprise! Here's some content." Drives me nuts.
Which,
I'd rather know some stuff is in the pipeline and come in and like have some idea of like are they going to be fixing this terrible problem I've been having or are they just ignoring it? Like
mm-hmm.
tell me these things.
See, that's the one thing. That's my biggest issue with Starfield was the lack of information about it.
Yeah, no communication whatsoever. It was pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
But
All right.
also one other piece of news that I had that I wanted to mention. There's a pretty big thing going on right now with Daybreak Entertainment, which, if anybody who knows, they're the company behind EverQuest now. They're the company that owns EverQuest. Um, Apparently, there's a lot of like emulated servers out there, like the Hero's Journey server. There's P99. There's a couple other like big ones, and they're getting more and more popular, which is taking the population of the main servers. And like whenever they release their new time lock progressions every year, the numbers are dropping. Hero's Journey actually went as far as they started putting in like monetized things into the game, and Daybreak said, we've had enough. They're now suing the people that are behind the Hero's Journey server in particular. They're the first ones. They're now suing them for copyright infringement and using their servers to make money, basically. And I'm curious to see where that's going to end up going, because a lot of these emulated servers are super popular, and if they're forced to shut down, it's going to make a lot of people mad. So
Well,
we'll I'll kind of keep an update on that, see where that goes, see what's going on. But yeah, it's finally gotten to the point. I mean, I knew as soon as I heard Hero's Journey was starting to monetize that Daybreak was going to step in soon, because now they're making money off of their intellectual property,
mm-hmm.
and they're not getting a cut, and that's not going to be good. So
I get it if you talk to Daybreak and say, hey, the cost of running this server, can we charge a small fee so we can cover the upkeep of the server? Because then Daybreak will probably go, yeah, as long as you keep it at that number and don't make a profit off of it.
yeah, well, they added like microtransactions and things like that,
Ah.
and yeah, so it's yeah. I mean, if anything, what you do in that situation is you contact Daybreak. You say, "Hey, we're getting kind of popular. We're going to add some microtransactions. We'll give you X% of the, what we make off of
Mm-hmm.
it if you allow us to keep doing it." Like, work with them. Don't just make money off of their property, because that's
Unless they reached out to Daybreak and Daybreak said no, and
well,
they're going about doing it anyway.
yeah. I don't know the specifics behind it, but I saw that there's definitely a lawsuit in the works now. So as I hear more, I'll report more. But that's what I got.
Yeah, it's don't play with a company that's been around. See, a lot of people don't realize Daybreak still handles the game and keeps the copyright active for EverQuest. It's not like Star Wars Galaxies, which died. And now the
Yeah.
emulation server is the only way you can keep up with it, and it's not supported by SOE whatsoever.
Yeah. Yep. As long you can't have too many hands in the pot there. One of the
Mm-hmm.
hands will start biting.
Like if I ever won the Powerball, I'd reach out to SOE and see if they'd be willing to sell the rights to Star Wars Galaxies, and then I would find a way to actually re-release the game.
Mm, okay.
All right, let's get into this difficult Q&A.
Are you ready? You ready for some avionics?
Let's do it.
All right. So I guess the best way to start this would be for those of us who don't know, what is avionics?
What's up, everybody? Rook from the future here. I am prefacing this next section of this video with I've been interested in aviation since I was a kid. I would get these little pamphlets of aircraft stats, and they could be made into a little binder. And those are the kind of things I loved doing as a kid, but I was also in electronics. I got lucky enough to have a recruiter in the Navy that actually cared about what I was going to do with my career and made sure I was going to do something I really enjoyed. He gave me the options of pushing for a nuclear technician constantly. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. And then he asked me, what do I like? I told him aircraft and electronics. And he pushed me towards two different jobs. One was aviation electronics technician, and the other one was aviation electrician's mate. I chose aviation electronics technician for the simple fact I did not want mate in my title. So that got me started in my career, but this has been a lifelong passion for me. Now, let's get back to the rest of the show. All right. So first and foremost, background. I've been in aviation, avionics since 2002 when I went to boot camp in the Navy, and then went to my first A school. Uh, Stopped performing avionics and went to the supervisor route in 2021 or 2022. Sorry. So I have
Okay.
over 20 years of avionics experience. Avionics is literally aircraft electronics,
Makes
aviation
sense.
electronics, avionics.
Okay. All right. And what are the main components that make up an avionics system? Like, how do they work together?
All right. So this is where it gets a little bit more confusing. I
Hmm.
need a specific system, sir.
That's what I'm
So on
saying.
an
What make up
aircraft,
the systems? Like, what is it
uh,
that?
let's talk about one everybody knows, the commercial airline.
Okay.
All right, you have your display. You
Hmm.
have your air data system, which, if you look on the side of a plane, you have your pitot probes. And then on the side of a plane, you'll have this little squared off area that has a little port that's circular in most cases with some holes. That's called your static port. That is your air data sensors. Your pitot probe takes in pressure differential from forced air, and then the static ports take barometric pressure. And the computer calculates your altitude based off of barometric pressure. And some modern aircraft, it can take that pressure based off of the pitot probe too. They call it a multifunction probe. Um, but that's how they get their airspeed and their altitude. And then you have your comms. You have, depending upon the aircraft, your weather radar, your GPS system, and then
Navigation. Yeah.
what other navigation systems your plane might have.
Okay.
And then any electronics on the plane is avionics.
Okay. And how do those different systems work together to keep this super heavy piece of metal in the air, basically?
All right, so commercial airliners fly primarily outside of takeoff and landing are primarily flown by autopilot. Autopilot needs to know the angle of attack of the aircraft, your airspeed, your altitude, your engine parameters, all of that stuff. What happens is especially on 737s, because I know those the best, you have your flight management computers that take in all this data and calculate everything. So you need your GPS so the aircraft knows where in the world it currently is.
Hmm.
And modern GPS will also tell you altitude as well. And then it takes barometric pressure and can balance those out to give you an actual idea of where you're at, or give you an error based on which one is reporting one thing and how off they are from each other. The aircraft needs to know how fast it's going. So the airspeed coming into the pitot probes tells the aircraft how fast it's going. And then, sorry, I'm trying to do some calculations in my head. All right. So if any of those drop, there are some backup systems, but the computer really can't see those backup systems. So it will give an alert and then the pilot has to fly it. Unlike a person who can just look at like a magnetic compass, which is just a little compass in a ball that spins based on your magnetic position, a computer can't do that. They use gyroscopes and all that to figure out your uh, bank, your pitch, and your yaw. Yes, I just did hand signals showing all three of those. uh, and it takes a lot of sensors to figure out which way the plane's facing. Uh, so it's primarily used a lot for pilots to be able to see where they're at because they have a map in front of them. It tells them their altitude. It tells them your altitude on one side, your airspeed on the other side. It shows you your horizon line with your or HSI, horizontal situation indicator, and it shows you your pitch up, down, left, right, whatever. And so that's how they all work together. I could have probably broken it down, but these are being asked off the top of his. I have not seen these questions in advance, so I didn't
Hmm.
prepare a straightforward answer.
Yeah. I'm basically interviewing him right now. He doesn't know what I'm about to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. All right. So now, with all these different systems working together, like, what is the role of avionics when it comes to like the safety of the aircraft?
So there are a lot of safety alarms and stuff on this aircraft. When you're flying, like I was saying earlier, the computer's constantly monitoring all the parameters of the aircraft. If one of its sensors detects something wrong, say, and I want to say a fire in in the engine,
Ooh,
it
that's a
will
good one.
flash a warning, a fire alarm in the cockpit for the pilot to react to. If it detects, say, your airspeed on the captain's side, or whichever pilot is controlling it, I'm gonna say in a commercial airliner, your captain sits on the left, your first officer sits on the right in most cases. And I'm talking aircraft left, aircraft right, not looking directly in. Anytime I say left or right, it's aircraft. If you're sitting in the aircraft facing forward of the aircraft, which side we're talking about.
Okay.
All right. So if you're sitting on the right hand side, if either of those airspeed indications the computer thinks is wrong, it will give you a warning saying, hey, air data mismatch. So it's up to the pilot to pull out their checklist and figure out which one's right. That's why on a 737, there are three systems. You have your pilot side, your first officer side, and then a standby side, a standby indicator that actually gives you a third separate reading from everything else. And the number one thing the pilot wants to do is verify between those two displays and that standby display and see which one's matching the standby display, or if those two displays the pilots have is different than or is the same, and that might be different from that standby display. So the computer takes in all this data and will give you any kind of warning. Like it will even tell you if you're not configured right for takeoff,
That's
which
I mean that's good.
it is good. Some of the older planes had have issues, and I watch a lot of air crash investigations, Mayday air crash investigations, and there are some older planes that had a habit of they tied in the actual takeoff configuration warning with another fault, and they would pull the circuit breaker for that one fault, so it would stop going off because it was a nuisance. It
Oh,
wasn't a major issue, but it also disabled the uh, takeoff configuration warning. So that's very important.
but does it
But
give you a warning when Rook screws something up and doesn't check certain parameters?
no, because we're not powered on the aircraft for that.
Apparently not. Apparently not. Oh, that's funny.
Another way they work with safety is if you actually look at uh, there's something on most modern aircraft called ground proximity warning
Mm-hmm.
radar or system, GPWS. If you get too close to the ground, it will tell you. So when you're watching
That's good.
uh, if you're watching shows and it stuff, it says too low terrain, too low terrain. That's because the ground proximity warning is saying, hey, there's something here. You need to do something.
You're getting a little too close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
uh,
pretty awesome.
it's avionics is the brains of the aircraft. Is the best way to put it.
Okay. Yeah, I actually remember hearing that warning a few times when we were flying those one planes, well, simulators, I
Mm-hmm.
guess, in that place by WonderCon. That
Oh
was
yeah.
I got a little too close to the ground a few times. I was trying to like get under people and be a little sneaky, and it wasn't working out for me. But
Oh yeah. And there's also a new system called TCAS, traffic collision avoidance system. It's literally if the other plane has it, which in the US, I believe FAA for commercial airliners now requires it in their aircraft.
it makes
Um,
sense.
if it detects two planes in the same area, or not same area, but same altitude flying towards each other,
Uh-huh.
it will literally give each pilot different directions. And it will tell one pilot to go up and the other pilot to go down. And FAA has specified you will listen to TCAS over any air traffic controller, because TCAS is real time. Air traffic controller is on a delay. So TCAS will tell you, hey, dive, and then, hey, altitude. So that way you just avoid running into each other.
That's a good thing. I mean, you
Yeah.
don't really want to run into each other.
There's a lot of there's a reason why air aviation is the safest form of travel, because there are a ton of rules and regulations that airlines, traffic controllers, pilots, they all have to follow. And if they don't, they can lose their license instantly. It's brutal. The FAA will come down hard on people for violating safety stuff.
Oh, I believe it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's, you got a lot of people's lives in your hands every time you take off. So that makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
especially commercially. Now, my next question I have here, you kind of already answered. It says, what are the most common navigation systems used in an aircraft?
Oh, yeah. That's your GPS. They have another one called TACAN. That's they have ADF. They still do use that occasionally on some aircraft, especially on the older ones. ADF is automatic direction finder. It uses radio frequency. You can actually tune into a radio station, and they'll tell you the direction that frequency is transmitting from, and
Mm-hmm.
that way you can have an idea of where you're at. It doesn't
Oh,
give you a
nice.
precise thing, but it does help. And then there's just the aircraft's internal navigation system, which is gyros and everything, where the plane takes its airspeed, altitude, and angles and all that, and calculates where it is based on all that information.
Okay.
Number one is GPS, always GPS.
Yeah.
Your unmanned vehicles need GPS. Your commercial pilots need the accuracy of GPS. But if those fail, the plane can still give you an idea of where you're at. I do not know off the top of my head the error in that,
Mm-hmm.
how much it would be off, but it can usually get you in a really close ballpark. And then you can brief that to your air traffic controller, and they can guide you to safety.
And now, when you're talking GPS, you're obviously talking something a little bit more advanced than what we use on our phones and our cars and stuff, right? Because I mean, those just kind of tell us turn left at this street. They don't take into into account that you're 10,000 feet in the air or whatever. So,
It takes it uses the same GPS satellites, all the same GPS stuff. The difference is in an aircraft, the computer is actually looking at all the data
mm-hmm.
versus your phone's not telling you which what your altitude is, but it
Right.
can tell you your speed. It can tell you within a few feet of where you are, and that is what the planes use. That the planes use they use the altitude is the only thing that's different. The use of altitude is the only thing that's different than what a car does.
Okay.
There are, like, my watch will tell me my altitude based on GPS.
Mm,
But when you're driving on a road, you don't need to know your altitude. If I'm hiking, this watch needs to know where my altitude is.
right. Okay. All right. That makes sense.
So the GPS, as you know it, is actually a military system.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that.
It was developed by the military, and they authorized civilian use of it. And now it's an everyday life thing.
Everywhere. Yeah. I remember when I was younger, yeah, I'm dating myself, but when I was younger, if you wanted to go anywhere, obviously you used a map, but then they
Mm-hmm.
eventually came out with these Garmins that
Mm-hmm.
you'd give you your GPS, and then now it's like on every phone.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like,
or built into every car.
yeah, built into just about everything nowadays. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
sucks for those companies like Garmin, put them out of business real fast. No one needs to
Funny
buy
thing
a
is,
GPS.
Garmin makes my watch.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah, they had to branch out.
actually, Garmin's in a lot of stuff these days.
Yeah.
But Garmin still, because they're GPS and they're good with GPS, they make a lot of aviation. They make a lot of general aviation. And by general aviation, I'm talking about your Cessna prop planes, your Beechcraft, all of them.
Oh.
Um, that's general aviation. Commercial aviation is your airliners. Any commercial aviation is pretty much anything that's owned by a commercial company that's making money off the flights. General aviation is all your small stuff that is can be privately owned more often than not.
Hmm.
And then you have your military aviation. I've worked in a MRO facility for commercial aviation, and my vast background of military aviation.
Nice. So now, if somebody wants to get into avionics, what kind of training and skills are required to work in avionics?
That's a little bit more tricky. That one I'd had to do some research on.
Okay,
I
that's
went
fair.
through the military, so I was able to get trained through the military.
Hmm.
There are some places what some people like to call AMP, your airframes and power plant certificates.
Hmm.
They cover just going through that school in a lot of cases. Some people just go to those schools. I think they're like they can range anywhere from a couple of weeks to a few months, depending upon when you're taking the class and whatnot. And
Okay.
a lot of people will go to that and then come out of that and go to like an MRO or an airlines and cut your teeth in their maintenance facilities and start learning avionics that way. Uh, but it's mostly you want to find places that offer, you don't necessarily need your AMP for maintenance repair facilities. A lot of those, they can have you work under somebody and help you get to the classes you need to go and get that training for your at least your airframe certificate, because that covers airframes, electrical, electronics, all that stuff. Um, but you can work under somebody. Uh, I worked at an MRO called Aviation Technical Services. They actually had. I don't have my AMP. Most of my jobs and outside of the military didn't require me to have one, but I got to work underneath someone, and I already had the experience. But we had new guys come in. The lead would co-sign for somebody, putting their name on the documentation saying, "Hey, the work is done per the specs." But they would be willing to teach you, and then they would point you in the direction of the best schools in the area to go to for your AMP classes. But just getting your foot in the door at any of these maintenance facilities will get you on path to avionics.
Nice. That actually, I'm getting super interested the more I hear about this.
It's
All
a good
right,
career.
this is a question that I came across that I'm not sure what it means, but it sounds like something that I want answered, and I don't know why. So I put it in here. When it comes to avionics, what is the difference between verification and validation?
Hmm. I have never actually heard that question before.
Yeah, it came like I was looking up like different like, aviation type questions and then stuff, and one of the ones that popped up was what is the difference between verification and validation in the avionics?
uh, I'm going to Google this one real quick.
Okay. Google is our friend. Haha, I stumped the aviation expert. Wahaha. Mission accomplished.
Validation and avionics. All right. Let's see. Bam. Okay, so in avionics, it's pretty much what I was thinking, but I didn't want to give a false information. All right, so verification focuses on ensuring the design and implementation adhere to defined requirements and specifications. For example, reviewing code, conducting simulations, performing unit tests, all that stuff. Validation ensures the system meets the needs of the end user and operates as intended in its operational environment. Flight testing, system level simulations, and demonstrating that the avionics system performs to its required functions during flight. So verification is making sure that box works. Validation is putting it in the aircraft to make sure it does what it's supposed to with the aircraft.
Okay.
That's the way I read that.
Okay. All right. Because we are starting to run a little low on time, I'm going to combine these next two questions together.
Mhm.
What are some of the most common issues that you come across? And what are some troubleshooting techniques that you would use?
All right. So troubleshooting techniques, I'll discuss in the order that I'll actually answer this question in the order that you just brought it up. So some of the most common things I see throughout my career have been, uh, like I said, input mismatch, uh, or it's not getting a required information. The computer's not getting required information that it should be getting.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best way to explain it. For most avionics, that's usually always the case. The computer is not getting what it's supposed to for whatever reason. A lot of these tend to be a wire that's not fully seated or an internal failure of the box itself. I have done component level repair. So inside the box, you have circuit cards. A circuit card could have damaged transistors or resistors or capacitors, whatever on them.
Okay.
The connector itself going into the box, the wire, the pin could just not be seated all the way inside that connector.
Okay.
You could have a broken wire somewhere that's shorting out. These are simple. First, the troubleshooting is easy. Run up the system. See what faults you're getting from the system. Because modern systems, they will tell you, hey, this is what's wrong. I'm not seeing this. They'll give you error codes and stuff.
Do you have to turn it off and turn it back on again?
Sometimes that is
Okay.
the easiest fixed. Modern avionics, sometimes that is the easiest fix. Just turn it off, turn it back on. Sometimes it just has a bad start.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's why if you look at a pilot's checklist, it says power down the system, power it back on, see if it comes back on. If not, follow the rest of this checklist.
That's amazing.
Gotta love electronics, man. Computers. First, test the system. See if it gives you an error. If it's an error that's not making any sense to what you're seeing, then you got to do more troubleshooting. So, take for example, you have your GPS system, you have your antenna and your receiver. Somewhere in between these sections, you got a problem. The antenna's checking good. You've done a test on the antenna, you've done a test on the box. The box is saying it's good, but it's not receiving anything from the antenna. You test the antenna and you're seeing all the signals you're supposed to at the antenna. That means you got a wire somewhere. So it's always take the length of the system and test it. And then you're going to half it. All right, I'm good here at you'll find a break point somewhere in the middle and you'll half it and you go, all right, I'm good here. Now you're going to go to the other half. I am not good here. Then you're going to half that one further back. Am I good or bad? So you always take it and you just break it down into halves until you figure out the area where you're having the issue. With wiring, it tends to be the fastest way of troubleshooting. Unless you have a time domain reflectometer and you know the length of the wire, and then it'll just tell you how far down the wire you have to go. But on some aircraft, that's not easy to chase. So those are going to be your best way of figuring it out. That is the fastest way. A lot of times you can get lucky and just go and do a sniff check and be like, yep, I got a burning wire somewhere. And yeah, so TDR will be the quickest way to troubleshoot wires. Repairing the wires easy, but as long as you follow your technical data, it will tell you everything you need to do for fault isolation in most cases. I'm going to be honest. Avionics is a very set skill that you learn over time. But even an entry level person, as long as you know what you're looking for component wise, you can follow the tech data. And most modern tech data will go step by step by step. And that is going to be the best way to troubleshoot.
Okay. And the last question I got here for you, what are like the biggest challenges that you've run into in your career?
So the biggest challenges I've run into in the Navy, when I was working on F-14s, there was an aircraft we had issues with. I personally assisted with troubleshooting this, but I didn't do all of the troubleshooting. This issue shows how important it is to have all the right info. So there are tolerances for avionics systems, power plus or minus 1 volt DC in a lot of cases. Uh, Wires can only have a certain level of resistance, stuff like that.
Okay.
We had an F-14 that would only identify one external station, and it was a external fuel tank. Couldn't, for the life of us, for 2 weeks. We were chasing wires left and right. Couldn't find anything wrong. We tried multiple different mission computers, and they couldn't tell us what was wrong. We sat there with our tech rep, and our tech rep was telling us, "Hey, check the outputs of these wires and these wires." And then our one of our lead avionics techs, one of our second classes in the Navy, he was like, "Should we check the power?" This one tech rep's like, "No, don't worry about it." Well, he went on vacation a week and did all this troubleshooting, a week and a half into this troubleshooting, and the new tech rep was like, "Check that power wire." And we checked it, and it was reading 27.1 or 0.2 volts DC. And he's like, "Jump in a new wire to the mission computer to this other box and tell me what you get." So we did. And lo and behold, we jumped it in, and suddenly the mission computer is getting full power. All the weapon stations are IDing. I do not know why or what was wrong with the wire that was causing the low voltage, but it did have a higher than normal resistance. And it was just a struggle. Now, this is where it's important to realize wiring. A lot of older people believe aircraft wiring will last the lifetime of the aircraft. That is 100% false. Wires degrade over time. And so this wire degraded. It was not allowing the full, these older boxes, they're supposed to be a 1 volt plus or minus 1 volt DC tolerance. And it's supposed to have 28 volts DC. Well, the older boxes don't necessarily have that tolerance. Some of them have a tighter tolerance. And this one mission computer, these mission computers in this system had a 0.5 volt DC, plus or minus 0.5 volts DC tolerance. And so it was out of that tolerance, and the mission computers were just not seeing everything. So that took us 2 years. It's getting over the stigma that wires can never fail.
Oh, yeah.
Constant electrical current through a wire, especially if it's getting hot, cold with how planes fly, can degrade, especially their insulation could start shorting out somewhere. Yeah. So that's my biggest issues we've ever had, was just trying to troubleshoot something, and what you're getting from the tech data versus what the aircraft's telling you is two different things. And you actually have to start reading schematics, looking over how the system's supposed to operate through the theory of operations, and be like, all right, so I'm looking at this box. This ain't working. The wiring from here to here is good. How does this interact with all of each other? And then you're like, oh, I see. So this one component here could be causing this component over here to not be receiving all its data because it's flooding the system with a lot of noise. So
yeah, dude, that's wild.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like it could be a headache.
But the perks of aviation is you can always get that not gratitude, but that sense of fulfillment when you see your aircraft that you've been troubleshooting flying, especially in commercial aviation, because they fly nonstop until they're flying all the time. And you see them fly and they're just flying around the world, and you're like, I fixed that.
Yeah, I made that happen. That thing's flying because of me. Oh
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah,
That
it's
is
a
awesome.
really rewarding. I can't say rewarding for some reason. Career. It's a really rewarding career.
There you go. Got it. Well, thank you for giving us an insight into avionics. Like I've been I used to hear you and Widget talking about it all the time, and like I was super interested in it. And when you mentioned possibly bringing it up as a topic, I was like, ooh, that sounds fun. I get to learn something today. So I appreciate it. I learned something. Hopefully you guys learned something as well.
And if y'all want to hear more stuff about what we're passionate about and a topic where, because Archon next week is doing what he's passionate about.
Yeah.
And so if y'all like this, let us know in our comments or in the comments of the YouTube video or on our Discord. And you can reach us at our Discord at discord.gg/raw podcasts.
That is the place to be. That's where we hang out. We're in there anytime we're playing a game. We're usually in Discord, chatting with people. Jump in, talk to us. Don't be afraid. Like, we have a couple listeners that pop in there all the time. Like, join us, talk to us. Yep. Even if you're not playing the same game as us, we want to talk to you and, just hear what you're doing. See what you guys are having fun with. So if you have any questions or want to reach out to us about anything to do with the show, you can email us podcastraw@gmail.com, or you can contact us individually. You can find me anywhere basically as the Archon606 on all social media platforms.
You can find me as some variation of Rook 213 or Tomcat 213, almost everywhere.
And you can find us, the show itself, on Facebook, Instagram. Our Facebook is Raw Podcasts. Our Instagram is
Raw Podcast 1.
Yeah. So look us up, shoot us a message. Don't be shocked when you get a message back from us pretty quick. So,
and for those of you who are watching the video on YouTube, please like and subscribe because that'll help us out on growing our channel.
And check out our teasers that we post throughout the week on our new TikTok. You can also find us there on just search Raw and Nerdy and you'll find us there.
Oh, I think that's all we got for tonight.
Yep. So you guys have a great week and we will see you next week.
Y'all stay nerdy.